Last night, I saw this news, and I thought the news broke last night, like my time really last night. So I woke up and I saw this news, and my God, I am so excited. Like words cannot fully express my joy. What's the news? Nigeria has finally accepted to become a BRICS partner. This is very interesting because the Nigerian government, Tinubu, the president himself, he's pro West, he's pro United States, pro France, and he has taken several steps and several moves that have been to the detriment of Nigeria just to advance the cause of outsiders. But this, in my opinion, I think is the very first time that he is making a decision that I think is to the benefit of Nigeria. So I'm going to give you credit. I don't know, whenever I come here, I'm always dragging Tinubu and say Tinubu this, Tinubu. But this one, Tinubu, you have done a good job. You've done a good job. And I'm really excited for that. So before now, initially it was under the Buhari administration that Nigeria said, okay, we would like to join BRICS. Back then, I was even having an issue because Nigeria did not fully submit application to join BRICS. It just said, okay, we'd like to join BRICS in the future. And I assumed it was because because Buhari also is pro-West, so it was because they were trying to stay on the Western side. But the fact that that administration voiced its interest in joining BRICS, I thought it was a good thing the Buhari administration did. Now Tinubu came in, and Tinubu did everything to appease Americans and the French. While all these things were going on, I kept wondering, why is he trying to break away, like not really break away, but ignore BRICS? So something happened even back then, when I think it was in August of 2024, when they had the BRICS summit. Nigeria was not there, was not represented. I spoke about it on this show, and I was really upset. I spoke about it on this show. Nigeria did not go. Not one representative from Nigeria was in from Nigerian government was in Russia for the BRICS summit. Then after the BRICS summit, they said, okay, Nigeria and it's BRICS, because initially Nigeria had said we would like to join BRICS sometime. So Nigeria was one of the countries that BRICS welcomed to be a partner nation, along with Uganda and some other countries. Shortly after that, Uganda said accepted the invitation to become a partner nation. Indonesia accepted to become a member of BRICS. So I was seeing a lot of countries coming in and joining BRICS. Nigeria did not say anything. So then I said, what kind of thing is this? Did Tinubu not realize that they told you to join? Just at the very least, even Saudi Arabia, that is a friend of the United States, is a BRICS member. So why can't you, even if you want to be friends with the United States, fine, no issue with that. But at the very least, accept this partner status of BRICS. Nigeria left it since August. I'm giving you this, right? Nigeria left it since August. Then suddenly, this morning I woke up and I saw the news and I'm so excited. So what do I think happened? I have two theories in mind. Number one, even while the president is pro-West, that is Tinubu is pro-West, I think that there are people within his cabinet that are pro-Russian. I don't want to mention names, but before now, I have heard some people close to him who also played a role in his getting into Asorok. I've heard them say things that are, the kind of things you would hear people say within the multipolar world grouping, right? So I've heard them say things pro-Russia and praising Russia and speaking down on several things the West has done, particularly the United States. And these are people who are close to him. That made me realize that even while he himself, the president himself, is pro West, there are people within his administration and people close to him who clearly have his ear, who are pro Russia. So that is why I'm saying it. So it's more like they convinced him to go this route. That's number one. Number two, which I think is very likely, there's this culture within the Chinese political grouping, within China's politics, that every year China begins its foreign trips coming to Africa. It's always the case. So last week, the foreign minister of China visited several African countries, including Nigeria. And one of the things that China and Nigeria discussed when the foreign minister of China came to Nigeria was they were going to reissue, doing currency swaps. That's one of the things they discussed. But I'm now thinking, I've not seen any report about this, but I'm thinking that during that meeting between China and Nigeria, the issue of BRICS came up. Now, while Nigeria and many other African countries can really take such a, I don't want to use the word anti-Russia, but they can really take such a, they can really focus on the West and ignore or overlook Russia, is because Russia is not so ingrained in African politics or Africa's economy. Since we're talking about Nigeria, then Russia is not so invested in Nigeria's economy. So it's not a part, it's not, Russia is not something we think about when we are making policies, whether it's local policy or foreign policy. But that's not the situation with China, right? We can ignore Russia's wishes, but it's not the situation with China. China is ingrained in Nigeria's economy. Without China, I mentioned this in our last episode, many of the developments we've seen in Africa is courtesy of China. So China, the Africans cannot ignore China the way we can ignore Russia because China is ingrained in our economy. And most of our imports are from China. On average, most of our exports is to China. For example, since we're discussing Nigeria, Nigeria's trade with China, if you look at the graph, you will cry. What we import from China, let's say Nigeria runs on China. Do you get? Nigeria runs on China, and then what we export is really doesn't. It's really nothing. But then our strongest, Nigeria's strongest bilateral trade partner is India, also a member of BRICS. Nigeria's strongest bilateral trade partner is India, like bilateral trade, meaning buying and selling, is India. So I think that when Wang Yi, the foreign minister of China, visited Nigeria last week, they didn't, when the respective foreign ministries released statement, they did not mention BRICS. But I think that China spoke to Nigeria about BRICS. And like I said before, Nigeria can ignore Russia, it cannot ignore China. The only thing with Russia with respect to African countries is really security, military. That's it. And military relationship we also have with China, we also have with the United States. So it's not as if Russia is indispensable when it comes to military in Africa. Russia is not. But China, that's a different story. China's economic interest in Nigeria and Nigeria's economic interest tied in association to China, even in the country of Nigeria, is indispensable. We cannot afford to lose relationship with China. It's the same thing if you look towards East Africa. You would notice that several times um, Ruto had said things that are not favorable to Russia. Not like insulted the Russians, no, but he has alluded that Russia's whatever Russia is doing um, in Ukraine is bad, is wrong, blah 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 blah. But he has alluded that even when we had the Russia Africa summit, Ruto did not go to Russia, and there was no representative from. To the best of my knowledge, I may be wrong, but there was no representative from Kenya in Russia. But when it comes to China, Ruto is literally on the floor for China. That's because China is ingrained in Africa's economy. So if you want to be indispensable, that's the way to do it. So I think this is the reason why Nigeria suddenly out of nowhere seemed like Nigeria. Because if you had followed Tinubu's policy with respect to BRICS and Russia and all of these things, it's like, oh, I'm going to stay with the United States, even if it's at the detriment of Nigeria in certain regards, right? Even if the Western ship is sinking, we are going to hook ourselves on the Western ship. But this movement has taken place. I think two reasons. Two reasons. Number one reason I mentioned is that there are people within the administration and the people who have the ear of Tinubu who are pro-Russia. But overwhelmingly, I think that the reason we have seen this change is because the foreign minister of China came to Nigeria and had a discussion on BRICS with Nigeria. And Tinubu could not say no because China is ingrained in Nigeria's economy. That's what I think happened. But at the end of the day, even if it's Wangi or the Chinese that got Nigeria to make a U-turn, or it's people within the administration that got Tinubu to make a U-turn. At the end of the day, the decision is always upon Tinubu. It's incumbent on him to make the final decision. So I want to say thank you to Bola Ahmed Tinubu. You people know that a lot of times I have had issues with him on this show, but I want to give credit where credit is due. Because for me, the most important thing is the interest of Nigeria and Africa at large. So when we see leaders make the right moves, right, let us, the same way we will castigate them and we will speak bad about them when they make a bad move. Let it be the same way. Let's also use that measuring stick, right, to speak good about them when they make a good move. This move has been made by Tinubu. Whether if the Chinese told him to do something, he could still say he would not have done it. If people within or maybe he would have delayed it. If people within his administration are advising him to do something, he can still decide not to do it. But the fact that Tinubu has done this, I want to give credit to him and say you have done well, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Thank you for accepting the invitation for Nigeria to become a partner of BRICS. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comment section below. This news has made me so. I saw it this morning and I literally screamed. I'm like, yes, that's the right decision. Tinubu made the right decision. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share this video with everybody, so that we can amplify Africa's voice on a global scale. And if you want to support the work that I'm doing here, feel free to use the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description, and it's also on the screen. Thank you so much.